Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I thought I'd make a comparison video of the three sets I have. My other individual reviews should be up, so you can take a look at those. But in the comparison review, I thought I'd include some information that I didn't include in the other ones, so you should get something different here. I don't know how it's going to work out comparing three sets. I've seen comparisons of two, and that seems to work out pretty nicely, but I'm going to give it a shot here. So let's see what we got here. So the first set here in the front, this is from the House of Staunton. This is the Reykjavik 2 set, with the king being at 3¼ inches with a 1½ inch base. That's what it says on the website, and that's pretty much what it says according to my calipers. And the weight here is 2.3 ounces, roughly double weighted chess set. And the pieces, of course, are relatively are decreased in size relatively to their size. You know what I mean. The next set in the middle is the fierce knight set from the chess store. The king is 3½ inches, and the base is 1.625 because of the little bottom footing here, the little flare that you get. This is what actually makes it this is what makes it 1.625 instead of 1.5 as compared with this one, which it's actually the same size. It's just this one has a bigger lip. So that's the second one. And this one is also double weighted. This king is also 2.3 ounces. And then these are, of course, a little less. And then finally, the last one is from Wholesale Chess. This is their St. Petersburg series with a 3¾ inch king. But this king actually only weighs 1.87 ounces, which isn't double weighted. Maybe that would just be single weighted or just weighted. I don't know what the terminology is, but those are the weights. So this is the lightest set, and that's the biggest gripe I have about this set, or that's the biggest complaint, or I think that's the biggest drawback to this set, is that it isn't double weighted. It really should be at least double weighted. Okay, so those are the sets. Now let's go at it piece by piece, and then we'll look at them as a whole again, so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go pawn for pawn here. Pawn for pawn, where we go first, second, third, right? This is the one from the House of Staunton. This is the one from the chess store. This is the one from Wholesale Chess. And you can see the pawns are, and since I went from smallest to highest, and the pawns reflect that. The pawns reflect that respective to their kings. They're also going from smallest to highest. They basically have the same pattern. The only thing different with these two, as opposed to this one, is that both of these have a bottom footing that flares out a little bit more, and you see you give it a little bit, it has that little bit of like a, floating or saucer feel to it, like, flying saucer feel to it. As opposed to this one, I think the base just looks much better when the footing is the same size as the upper part of the base. But the collars are the same, round ball. The neck here on this one is actually pretty thin. This one looks a little bit thicker, and this one looks about the same size, but this one's smaller. But I don't think it's a big detractor. So as far as pawns go, I think it's a wash. I think they're all good, except of course this one's the lightest one. So in fact, this one is not as good as these two because of the weight. But design-wise, the same. All right, let's move to the rooks. Here we go again with the rooks. Right. Once again, House of Staunton, Reykjavik set, the chess store, and then Wholesale Chess. Wholesale Chess is the St. Petersburg edition. The chess store is the Fierce Knight series. Now, here's where clearly one set jumps out as better than the other to me, and it's this rook. This rook, as you can see, now when we go from smallest to biggest, we have a clear jump. And that's because this rook isn't anywhere near in size to the pawn that it corresponds with. and I like that. I prefer that. I think the rook, given that his value is roughly 5 on the chess set, should reflect that in stature, and this one does. It's got a thicker neck here. It's got less going on up top. About equally going on up top as far as the parapet and the crenellations. But since the neck is thicker, it doesn't flare out as much, which gives this a little bit of a less of a castle look, less of a tower look, and more like a flower look actually. And I don't like that. I mean, I don't hate it, but I prefer this look. And this one has got the deep crenellations, which just doesn't look right. It doesn't even look like a tower in that sense. It looks more like a blossoming flower. And this part is pretty much straight. This one you can see kind of like curves in more. Not that I care that too much about that, but this one is too close in size to the pawn, and it's got this flowery part up top. So this rook design is much better. And I won't keep harping on the fact that this one weighs less than these other two. So in that regard, the better design is here. Clearly the better design is here, in my opinion. Okay, let's move on to the knight. Now the knights. And let's put it this way so we get a look at it. And now here, actually, we go with the chess store. The Fierce Knight is my favorite knight here. One, because it's got the more natural decline to the head, the tilt down. It's also got a little bit more detail, but not a lot more detail than the St. Petersburg edition. And this one doesn't have as much detail, but it fits well with the design of the chess set. So I'm not really taking away as far as detail goes. I just prefer the slight tilt to the head than this, L shape to the knights. I think the L shape looks a little too unnatural. But it's a chess set. It's not supposed to be exactly a carved knight. So for you, you might like it. You might even prefer it. My preference is with this Fierce Knight. So I think I give the chess store's Fierce Knight series, the nod here as far as preference. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Let's go bishops. And these are all different. These are all slightly different, right? This one, starting here with the St. Petersburg wholesale chess one, it's got a slightly elongated head compared. I mean, it's a pretty big height. This part of the chess piece, as compared to, let's say, from the collar down, it makes up a good over 50% of it. This one is also elongated, and it's got a deeper cut. I mean, it's got a wider cut. You can see that. And it's a little pointier, right? This one's got a little bit more girth to it. And then finally, this one is more like an upside down teardrop, and it's got this little it's got a little Russian feel to it, Taj Mahal-ish feel to it. But I think it works. It works for the set, and one of the reasons I got these sets is because there's a difference as far as bishops go. King and queen, there's no difference really with these sets. But bishops, there's a difference. The knights, there's a difference. And the rooks, there's a definite difference. But all of these, I like the styles for all of them. So I think when it comes to bishop, it's a wash. They're all different, and they all seem to work for their sets. All right, so let's keep going. And then queens. And like I said already, queens are going to be pretty much the same. The only thing going on here is the height difference. If you remember, let's put it next to their kings here. You can get an idea. While this queen, I think, is undersized compared to the king, you can see that the difference isn't as bad as it is this one. These two queens are almost identical in size, and yet these kings, there's a 1/4 inch difference here. But there's not a 1/4 inch difference here, telling you that the difference between this queen and this king is a bigger difference. And so she's getting dwarfed, in my opinion. And it's not a look that I like. This one is much better, I think. And they're closer in size. I think you can tell they're closer in size. And I think that's the right relationship. That's what you want. Also, this king has a squarish cross. And these two have more of a rectangular cross. One, I don't really like that. I don't really like this to be too long. It starts to look it starts to look unusual to me. when this part is too big, and the king's, a lot of the height, or a big percentage of the height, is coming from the cross. So the box cross to me is preferable. And the only thing difference about these kings here is that this part from here out flares out more. So you have more of a flaring out here. I don't think it's better or worse than the other two, but I just did note that difference. So I think it's pretty much a wash with as far as the designs, but when it comes to relationship, it's not a wash. I think this is clearly the better option here. So again, St. Petersburg wins out in that regard. All right, so those are my views on the individual pieces. So let's see if we can put these back together, and then I can comment on the relationships as a whole. And then I have some notes that this doesn't belong. As far as numbers go, it might be interesting. I thought it was interesting. Maybe you'll share my views on this. Now, so as a whole, I think this set completely, the St. Petersburg set from Wholesale Chess gets it completely right as far as relationships and height. I think here the rook is a tad too small, and the queen is definitely too small. Here, the rook is too small. I don't like the design either. And the queen is also too small. So relationship-wise and height, St. Petersburg, it's the best looking set. It's got even a better color to it. It's got more of an alabaster color to it. Although this set has a nice grain showing up. So preference-wise, looking at it, I prefer this set. Handling-wise, I prefer this set. One, because it's smaller, and because of the weight is the same as this one, so it's actually it has a better feel to it, and because of the base. The base isn't flared out, so it looks more grounded, and so the pieces play well. They feel well when you put them down, when you move them around. Okay, now what I did find that was interesting is when I took the weights of the sets, when I took the weights of all the pieces, I weighed each and every single piece. And for example, what I was looking for was, is there a difference? Is there a difference when it comes to the weight of one pawn to another pawn, or one rook to another rook, or and so on, one knight to another knight? And the only thing I was really looking for was if there was more than or if there was a 0.10 or 0.1 ounce difference between piece to piece, you're going to be able to tell if you pick up a pawn and it weighs 0.70 ounces, and then you pick up the next pawn and it weighs 0.6 ounces. That's a stark difference, especially for pieces that weigh so light. Now, of course, if you're talking about 0.1 ounce and you're pushing 2 cards, you're not going to tell the difference, right? But if you pick a piece of paper up and then you pick up a dime or a penny, which is roughly 0.9, right? So you're going to tell the difference, right? So I was looking for a difference that would be a felt difference, and I figured 0.1 is a felt difference, especially on pieces this light. And I found that in the St. Petersburg set, the only difference was that you'd get when it comes to the bishops, one of the bishops is 1.04, and another one of the bishops is 1.16. So you get a 0.12 difference. But out of all the pieces, the bishop was the only one that had this difference of a 0.12 difference on the bishops on the St. Petersburg edition. So other than that, everything else was really within like 0.06 of each other as far as the weight. So you have a really good consistency here in weight, which speaks to their craftsmanship and quality control. So then let's move to the one. Let's move to the front here, because I want to save the last one. I want to talk about the Fierce Knight from the chess store last. The Wholesale Chess, the House of Staunton set. It also had one difference, and it was the Knight. The Knight showed a discrepancy of 0.10. So again, out of all the pieces, only there was one Knight that weighed 1.20 ounces, and another Knight weighed 1.30 ounces. So we're talking about 0.1 ounce in difference, and I think that is a felt difference. You pick them up and you move them a little bit, and you can tell. And if you're wondering what that difference is, imagine you have a 2 quarters and a nickel. 2 quarters and a nickel, and then put that and weigh that, and then add 3 dimes to it, and that's the difference. Those 3 dimes is the difference. It's going to make point one difference in ounces, and that you can feel, especially when you're talking about pieces this light. So again, here we're only talking about one piece, the bishops that weighed 1.2 difference. Here the knights weighed 1.1 difference. But when it comes to the chess store now, the chess store spheres knight, there's a big variance. There's a big variance, and there's a stark variance when it comes to certain pieces. So let's go. Let me get into it here. Now, I'll start with the least offensive discrepancy. When it comes to the knights, the lightest knight in the Fierce Knight series, I'm talking about the set that I have only, of course, there's 1.31 ounces. So it's got a good weight to it. But the heaviest knight was 1.44 ounces. So we're talking about a 1.3 ounce difference, a 0.13 ounce difference, which again is a felt difference when you're playing with these pieces. You pick them up. Now it's not going to jump out at you, but I think it's perceptible, and it might bother some people. Okay, the next one is the rooks. One of the rooks, the lightest rook, weighed 1.18 ounces, but the heaviest rook was 1.134 ounces. So we're talking about 0.16 difference. So that's a pretty big difference, 0.16 for 2 pieces this light. Then we move on to the pawns, and I thought this was actually the biggest. This was the biggest discrepancy, even though there's a bigger discrepancy with the queens. The lightest pawn weighed 0.58 ounces, which is really kind of light. And then the heaviest pawn weighed 0.8 ounces. Now, that's a 0.22 ounce difference. That's over 25% of the difference from the heaviest one to the lightest one. And to me, that's not good, obviously. I think there's consistency in the material and the way they're making it. You're going to feel that. You're going to pick up a 0.8 ounce pawn, and then if you pick up the lightest one, it just feels different. It almost feels like it doesn't belong in the set. But finally, we go to the queens, and one of the queens, the lightest queen weighed 1.33 ounces, but the heaviest queen weighed 1.59 ounces. So now we're talking about 0.26 ounce difference, and that's a pretty big difference. That's a felt. You're going to feel that difference. So when it comes to the consistency, as far as weight goes, the chess store's Fierce Knight, it was all over the place. It's not good. It's not a terrible thing, but it's not a good thing either, and the Wholesale Chess St. Petersburg was probably the most consistent one from piece to piece. Most of the pieces, where there was a difference of 0.02 for most pieces, or 0.05 at the most. Again, except for that one, I think it was the bishop I said. Okay, so those are the 3 sets. For this particular set, like I said, this 1.5 inch base really should be on a 2-inch square. These other sets have a 1.625 base because of the lip on the base, and they really need a 1 1/8 squared board, or a 1 1/4 inch squared board. But maybe you like it a little bit different. I don't know. Okay, so those are the 3 sets that I have. I thought a comparison review would be a good idea. If it doesn't work out, then let me know. Let me know if it's good. Let me know if you like the comparison review. I didn't mention is that the St. Petersburg set is the cheapest set. They have this advertised as $80, which is and part of the reason it's $80 is because it's also the lightest set. They really need to bump this up to at least double weighted set, and they can bump up the price to $100. Bump it up $20 more. This is still going to be a superior set So these, even if they bump this up to $120, if you make it double weighted, it's still going to be a better set than these. One, aesthetically, it's a better set. Two, it's a bigger set. And and I've already gone over the pluses and minuses on it. These are both, I think, $119. But the wholesale chess, but the House of Staunton, you can constantly get 10% off. So you'll get what's 10% off of 119, like 1.19, right? So $10, $11, $12. And then the same thing with the chess store. You can get 10% off, and they have free shipping. The chess store has free shipping. Wholesale chess also has free shipping. The House of Staunton will charge you $13 for shipping. I haven't seen free shipping for them, but maybe they'll have some kind of a promotion going on. All right, so out of the three sets, my favorite one to look at is the Wholesale Chess St. Petersburg edition. Gets all the proportions right. My favorite one to play with, or so far I haven't really played a game yet, but I know just by moving the pieces that it's going to be the Fierce Knights. Just because of the base, and just because of the smallness, and because of the weight. I think I got that right. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Leave your comments, whatever you want to say. Put it in the comment section. I'll read it. I'll comment back. We can insult each other. Flame war. Let's go. All right, take care. Thanks. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I thought I'd make a comparison video of the three sets I have. My other individual reviews should be up, so you can take a look at those. But in the comparison review, I thought I'd include some information that I didn't include in the other ones, so you should get something different here. I don't know how it's going to work out comparing three sets. I've seen comparisons of two, and that seems to work out pretty nicely, but I'm going to give it a shot here. So let's see what we got here. So the first set here in the front, this is from the House of Staunton. This is the Reykjavik 2 set, with the king being at 3 1/4 inches with a 1.5 inch base. That's what it says on the website, and that's pretty much what it says according to my calipers. And the weight here is 2.3 ounces, roughly double weighted chess set. And the pieces, of course, are relatively are decreased in size relatively to their size. You know what I mean. The next set in the middle is the Fierce Knight set from the chess store. The king is 3 1/2 inches, and the base is 1.625 because of the little bottom footing here, the little flare that you get. This is what actually makes it this is what makes it 1.625 instead of 1.5 as compared with this one, which it's actually the same size. It's just this one has a bigger lip. So that's the second one. And this one is also double weighted. This king is also 2.3 ounces. And then these are, of course, a little less. And then finally, the last one is from Wholesale Chess. This is their St. Petersburg series with a 3